Welcome to the Honest Channel. I'm Clare Johnston, a journalist in my 50s, dedicated to exploring how to age well, look and feel good for longer. And we've had an unusual run of unspoiled sunshine here in recent weeks. So today, we're taking the opportunity to film outdoors for a change of scene and to show off my husband's considerable efforts in the garden. The weather is also fitting because today's guest lives in a very sunny climate. Julie Gibson-Clark was a regular mum from Phoenix in Arizona when she shocked fellow competitors by coming second in the Rejuvenation Olympics, winning out over some very well-known biohackers. Even more impressive is that Julie's health and fitness regimen is a lot less elaborate and considerably less expensive than many of today's most prominent longevity influencers. Today, she's here to share her transformation story from someone who once struggled with their health to now being estimated to have a biological age 20 years below her actual age of 56. She'll explain her simple health span formula and she'll talk candidly about the pressure as a longevity influencer to keep up a youthful appearance and how far she's willing to go with that.
Thank you for having me. I'm really honored to speak with you and your entire audience. So thank you.
Well, I think you have a fascinating story to tell us. It's going to be one that we can all learn from for sure. I mean, you are an icon of healthy aging now, but it hasn't always been that way. I'm just letting you know, as of this moment, you have been categorized icon of healthy aging.
Okay, that's hilarious. Okay, I'm a little bit nervous about that one because, I really do try to, I put my pants on one leg at a time, as my dad says.
Exactly.
I don't know. So I'll just go quickly. So my dad was an astronaut and he had to train with like Neil Armstrong and all these people. And, growing up, it was just like your dad was a dentist and your dad was a doctor and my dad, like that was our neighborhood. So I didn't think much of it until like at college and after college. And it just occurred to me, I'm like, God, that must have been like tough, like kind of just going in as Joe Blow science because they were the first scientist hired, it's, and all these like icons, literal, And I said, how did you get through that? Like 2000 people applied and he was one of 3 that was selected. So I was like that takes some serious cojones, and he said, I just told myself they all put their pants on one leg at a time. They're just humans just like me. Exactly. And I can do what they can do. And it's been the greatest bit of advice he's ever given me. I mean, there's a billion other things, but that was
Did he actually go to space in the end?
Mm-hmm.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
so what's your dad's name?
Edward Gibson.
Edward Gibson.
Yeah.
Must
Scottish.
look him up. Well, this is what I was thinking. I was like, oh, gosh, yes, that's amazing. Yeah. I'm going to totally look him up.
But anyway, so icon, okay, fine. But like, hey, hope if nothing else people get from my story, like anybody can do this. We don't need millions of dollars, so we can get sidetracked in all kinds of weird things. But the reality, that's what I hope people get out of it is like, I'm just employing all the basics that the longevity scientists talk about.
That's why I'm excited to talk to you. Absolutely, because we want to hear about things that we can all access and not just the few. So it's fantastic. I wonder if we could start though by you taking us back to when you were not a picture of good health. How old were you and what led up to the breakdown of your health and how that kind of showed up for you in terms of what you were experiencing and the symptoms?
Yeah, the first time I had kind of 2 major breakdowns throughout my life. And the first one was just about 30. And I went through 36 months of like a marriage, a divorce, changed apart. I was living moving like 4 or 5 times. I quit my job. I was a structural engineer and I just quit kind of like, I don't really want to do this anymore. I had an ulcer. I was I had no idea what I was going to do. I thought, I'll just waitress. It was just a really tough time. And then I was told by my doctor I had 2 lumps in my left breast. And then the icing on the cake was somebody tried to kidnap me at knife point. And I was like all within 36 months. And it was just like,
They tried to kidnap you off the street? You were just walking?
Yeah, no, I was sitting in my car waiting for a tow truck, and he just concocted this weird plan that he was going to get in my car and, pull a knife on me and make me drive, and then he was going to hold me for ransom, and make my parents. he was like a heroin addict. I don't think his brain was working very well.
You hadn't thought it through.
So, and I just kind of looked at him and thought, like, that's a knife, not a gun. I can get out of the car. I can run. Like, he bumbled into my car. Because at first, like, when he got in the car, I was thinking, this is an area where there was a lot of homeless people. And so I just thought, oh, he's just going to ask me for some money. He's maybe mentally ill, like, I'll give him some money and then he'll move on. I just thought, oh, he's kind of getting a little too into my personal space. But, I didn't think anything nefarious about it until he pulled the knife on me. And then I was kind of like, okay, I'm out of here, And it was the middle of the day. This was like noon and I was sitting in front of a building. So I just ran into a building and, yelled for help, and he took off in my car. It all ended very well, actually. I ended up getting a new engine in that car, but that's another story. So,
what a story.
But I was so stressed out, and I had this like horrible acid reflux, which I didn't even know, was until I went to see my doctor, because I was on an antidepressant at the time, given everything I was going through. And mainly because of the marriage and the divorce. That was just sort of like, whoa, like this was a big, like, I'd had this very public marriage, and it was, a wedding and the whole thing. And I just felt horrible, and then quitting my job. Everything just felt like the tablecloth had been pulled out from underneath me. So I went to see her, and I was telling her, I'm like, is this one of the symptoms? She's like, well, actually that's acid reflux, and here's another medication. And it was just kind of like, you're on an antidepressant, which nothing wrong with that, but like, it was like, you're going to be on these the rest of your life. And that just kept like in the back of my head. I just kept thinking, one, I don't want to be on medication the rest of my life. I'm like 30 years old. That's ridiculous. And then two, I just kept thinking, if I had this like symptom that had to do with like my belly, and it was clearly something every time I would eat, it would happen, So I just thought, it's got to be something I'm eating. And this was in Portland, Oregon. I had some friends that were kind of going over to the School of Naturopathic Medicine. They were seeing naturopathic doctors. And so I knew that there was like a more holistic way of doing things. And I thought, well, I got nothing to lose to go see somebody, and so I did. And she said, oh yeah, acid reflux, at the time it was like, get off all wheat and dairy. And like, she gave me some like some tummy healing teas. I was very resistant to taking a lot of supplements and things. So she just said, we'll take this tea and stay off these things. And at the time there was not a lot of like, gluten-free and dairy-free options. So it just kind of eliminated a whole bunch of foods that, all kinds of stuff. And so, and it worked. And it was like within 2 weeks, I was like, it was gone. It was just gone. And I was like, wow, this is amazing.
Just from the wheat and the dairy.
The wheat and the dairy. And there was some herbs in this tea that I had to make this weird witch's brew every morning, but that were really like healing and sealing the gut. I think there was some aloe vera juice involved as well. There was a few things. I don't remember the whole protocol, but I just knew like, okay, there's a way to do this. And so when I went back to check in with her, she said, well, if you're interested in getting off the antidepressant, because now, we're talking 6 months to, years later, like I'm now in a place where I've got, mental health support. I had started my business. I sort of had more purpose. And so the reason for taking the antidepressant wasn't necessarily there. She said, yeah, we can put you on a nutraceutical protocol. And that was the first time I heard that terminology. Okay. And I thought, again, I got nothing to lose, like I can always just go back on this thing. And sure enough, it worked. And it was just like, okay, so, because at the time and still for many years, and I think there's still out there like, oh, it's just expensive supplements or just expensive urine, yada, yada, yada. But there was some real thinking, and I want to say science behind what she was, doing for me. And it worked. And I was on like, venlafaxine. But again, I was only on there like 12 to 18 months. It wasn't like years and years. But apparently I've had other friends that said that's been very hard to get off of. But so I don't know. But I found it like, I felt better. I felt amazing. And so, slowly tapered off that protocol as well. But I added, she was the first person to ask me, unlike my doctor, again, nothing wrong with that, but it just, like, what are you eating? You're drinking wine every night and following it up with whiskey? Like, you should probably like that's a depressant, that's a depressant. So you might want to like just quit that. So I did, and it's like, oh, do you eat greens? Do you, what's your diet like? So it was just looking at the whole person, and I was just, I don't know, I don't want to say sold, but it left a strong impression on me. Like, okay, why not try the nutraceuticals first? And then if they don't work, then you go for the medication. I mean, it's not as if, I take antibiotics. I take, if I, like my son had some troubles and he needed antidepressant, like I'm not anti-medicine at all. It's just, I think it has a rightful place, in a whole human and our health. So anyway, so that left that impression on me. That, and then again, later in my 40s, I kind of had a lot of hair falling out and I was suffering from exhaustion. And so I knew to kind of seek this more natural way. And I had a friend who knew of a doctor. She's, she just said with, the way that like it was like gone, like all this hair. And I had just had some dental work done. And she said, you might have mercury poisoning. You should just, because I had some like amalgams removed. And what I was telling her, I was like, yeah, I think I swallowed a little bit of it. And I was like, that's not bad, right? And she's kind of like, you should go see a doctor. And sure enough, I went to see what was now, like she's practicing functional medicine. She was an MD and so, put me through, again, a protocol that involved a lot of supplements and a lot of chelation therapy, which, is not something you want to DIY.
What is chelation therapy?
Yeah, so chelation therapy, they give you a chelator, and there are several different types of chelators. There's, very strong ones, and then there's kind of more kind of everyday weaker ones. But for me, they were giving me a strong chelator and going
listen,
one day.
This is new to me, chelator. What's that doing?
Yeah. So it's basically a compound that will bind to minerals in your body. But it binds to every mineral. So it binds to the heavy metals, but it will also be binding to your calcium, to your magnesium, all the other kind of minerals in your body. So then you have to go in the next day and they, remineralize you and give you. She was also measuring like what was going on in my body, like, oh, you're deficient in B vitamins, you're deficient in this. And so she was, not only remineralizing me, but helping me come back into balance as well. And so by week 6, came home from that and I was driving. I will never forget this moment. I can remember exactly where I was driving home, and it felt like this fog had just, like I had been living in a fog, and now it was like gone. And I remember kind of like my peripheral vision felt like it got wider and brighter, and looking around and just going, wow, like this is how the world feels. It was like this low grade depression I had been living with for, I don't even know how long at that point. And it was just gone. And I was like, wow, this is, I could think clearly. I wasn't exhausted. I was able to take care of my son. It just was so profound. And so I just got really hooked on this, like, what else is there that I don't know, because I didn't know that I was walking around in this fog until it wasn't there.
Until it lifted.
Yeah. And so now the internet's a thing. So now I start this is when I kind of start biohacking. Like, oh, let me try, what does a vegan diet feel like? And what does a paleo diet feel like? And what, so, yeah.
That's where you started to get serious about it. And I mean, it sounds like it's almost the luck of the draw sometimes in finding, when you're going down that natural route, practitioners who really know their stuff versus, I'm guessing there are quite a lot of practitioners in that field who maybe don't know their stuff quite as much.
I mean, any practitioner you're going to see, Western or otherwise, I mean, it's all about a relationship, right? So it has to be someone you like and trust, at the very least trust. And so I do think there's a lot of good people out there practicing, and you just might end up with someone that you just don't jive with for one reason or another, And I've had a lot of those.
I mean, between 30 and 40, when you had that other health episode, were you working out much? Were you exercising?
This was the days of cardio, so we were doing a lot of cardio. I always loved lifting weights because I was a swimmer growing up, and we had to lift weights. And I just and I took like a weight training class in college, and I could see like how impactful that was. It was just like within, I don't know, 4 weeks, you all of a sudden you start taking this more beautiful shape, it just happened so quickly. I mean, well, I was in my 20s then, so it was really quick, but but so I knew that I wanted to add that to my program. So I joined a gym, and I owned my own business at the time, and I just knew I got to get up first thing in the morning, get to the gym before I, head out to my work, because I knew once I went into the office, that was it, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that was very consistent. And that's why I was so shocked in my 40s. Like, why am I so tired? I'm doing everything right. I'm following, a vegan diet. I'm doing, thought I was doing everything right. So it was really, really shocking to feel so, like when I say I was exhausted, it was just like this bone tired. It was more than, I could sleep all night and I just didn't have that energy to take care of my son and the energy to like be present with him, and I knew I didn't want to be that kind of mom. I was just like, this isn't working.
So that fog lifted for you, and where did you take it from there? You were kind of eager to learn more.
Yeah. So that's when I just, started looking into the internet. My doctor had recommended, actually Rhonda Patrick had a podcast. I think it was right about then. I'm not sure. That may have been just a little bit later, but I know she was the one that said, oh, you should, this Found My Fitness, you would really like listening to her. And so she turned me on to her. And then, she would have guests. And then Joseph Mercola was another person out there. I mean, he's been out there forever. So it was always interesting to hear what he had to say. And then he would have guests on. So then I would go read their books or their material, and what they had to say. And I didn't take on anything, but I would go on these, what I call try-its. And I'm actually about to try something right now and try it. It's like, oh, I'm going to try this diet on for 3 months and see how I feel, as long as it wasn't, I knew, like at that point, I think I'd already tried the vegan thing, or like raw vegan. And I could see when I was doing my blood work with my doctor, she's just like, this is not working for you. Like this might work for some people, but it does not work for your biology. You need to change things up. But I was curious about, like, we have autoimmune diseases that run in my family. And I was learning about paleo, and then I was learning about autoimmune paleo. And, so I was just trying all these different things on and seeing, could I adopt it? I take on this, like when I go on to try it, I try to just like stick to it no matter, like an inner general comes out in me and is like, you're going to do this, and I'm a little bit harsh, with myself. I've learned to be a lot more gentle. And now I kind of go, okay, for, 1 month, 3 months, something like that, depending on, like, I'm going to really stick to it and see how it makes me feel. And, if I can measure biomarkers, I will. I just don't always have the money for the blood work, but, it's more just in a general, like, I think I should feel really good and I should sleep really good. And if that's not working after about 3 months, then maybe there's something to it that's not working for me. Yeah.
Well, along this road, sort of piecing it together for you, you signed up for a study, I believe, which gave you a biological age test. And that kind of led to a bit of a revelation. But where was that on this path? So how old were you when you signed up to that study, and what happened?
Yeah, so that's like, so I was, looking for, like, once this whole heavy metal thing came up, and my doctor had said, you have this MTHFR gene, you have a few other things that kind of make it hard for your body to detoxify. So you're going to be needing to look for ways to always naturally detoxify. So I kind of became, I don't want to say obsessed, but kind of obsessed with, like, so I was really looking at all of that. At one point, I started reading about fasting. Jason Fung has done a lot of work on fasting, and I thought, like, wow, this is so cool. Like, I don't have to take a bunch of supplements. Like, my body will just detoxify itself. Like, if I just fast, it all just like made sense to me until you try it. It's hard. It's really hard. The first time, I think I got 2 days in, anyway, I'd get up to like day 4 and I'm like, okay, that's it, And then I was reading about the fasting mimicking diet, and Walter Longo, and I think he was a guest on Mercola or somebody, and I just was like, that's interesting. You can actually eat a little bit and it still works. He was talking about in the context of longevity, like how fasting can help contribute to longevity and all the different processes that happen. I kind of started thinking about like, oh yeah, we could like live healthier for longer. You know, that it just didn't occur to me. You know, I was still under that mindset of like, when you get older, your joints are going to hurt and you're going to be a little weaker, and, you know, your vision's going to, like, just all of these things happen as you get older, and that's just part of aging.
Yeah.
And hearing him talk, it was like, oh, like there might be a different possibility. There might be a different way. And then I read David Sinclair, like many people, you know, and we were all just kind of like, whoa, that's amazing. So it just had me start thinking, and somewhere along there, I learned about senolytics, and which were these detoxing your zombie cells. And it was like, you know, the detox and the longevity. I was like, this is so cool. I'm all in, you know.
And the senolytics are supplements, basically.
Yeah, different compounds that help you. I mean, you can also, again, detox the zombie cells through fasting as well. So, you know, but there are different compounds you can take when you're not fasting that help you continuously detox. And so I, you know, kind of hooked into this one called Fisetin. I was researching that, and then learned about this company, NOVOS, and they had this product that had a few other things in there, like they had like low dose lithium, which I had already heard about from Rhonda Patrick, and I was kind of taking that. It had a bunch of magnesium, which I need to take. So I was just kind of like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, I'm going to take this because now it'll like eliminate a few other pills that I don't like taking a bunch of pills. So I was like, oh, this is cool. It's like all in one supplement. It's in one drink. So I go to order that, and then they asked, hey, you know, I didn't realize they were a new company, and they're like, hey, you know, do you want to be part of a study? And as part of that, I had been reading about the True Age test, and I was like, oh, this is going to be great. Like, I've been wanting to do that.
How old were you? How long ago was that you did the study?
Right. I get confused in here, but I think it was 2022.
Okay, so not too far
yeah,
back.
Yeah, it was either end of
ago.
2021 or beginning of 2022, somewhere, you know, but yeah, not long ago. It wasn't very long.
COVID sort of skews everything in the memory. You're trying to think, was that pre or post? Or
Yeah, it could have even been, it's like somewhere in, I don't know. I have the test
somewhere in
dates
that mix.
and all that stuff. So not very long. In the last 5 years. Like, I was like, I can at least see if the supplement even works too, because it's, you know, because of course, as being part of this study, they just asked that I pay for the aging test, you know, the tests, and that they gave me, you know, the supplements for free. And I even was paying like their costs. So it was very, very minimal buy-in, you know, to do this. And it was a no-brainer for me to do it. So
you had the True Age biological test.
Yep.
And what did that tell you?
So they did one at 0, you know, before I started, and they wouldn't give me my results, you know, so I was like, okay, because they just didn't want anything, you know, and then they just said, you know, take the product for 6 months. So I went about my business, and then took one at 6 months. And those first 6 months, I actually went through a very, very, very difficult time as a parent. You know, we had just a lot of upset in my house, and there was a lot of sleepless nights and a lot of, like, I mean, I wasn't, you know, I was probably at In-N-Out Burger. You guys don't have that, but, you know, like,
I know it.
Okay, yeah, it's the best. But anyway.
Well, whenever we've been to the States, the boys want to go around all the burger joints, you know. So, yeah, I know it.
It's the only fast food I eat, but I was like, you know, there was just all the things I have in place now, like everything just kind of went haywire. And, you know, like, yes, sometimes I was working out, sometimes I wasn't. There was a lot of sleepless nights, it was bad. And so at 6 months, they did give me my score, and I was able to slow my pace of aging by 8%. And I thought, okay, this thing works, because that's the only thing, because I knew they were a new company, and having built a business myself, I was like, okay, I'm good. Like, this is the one thing I can do every day. Like, I can do this.
So what is it? What's the actual supplement that are you still taking this? Is this?
Oh, yeah. I take it every day. Yeah. It's a powder, and you just put it in. And I don't mean to sound like an ad for them, because I'm not sponsored by them, or, you know, I do have an affiliate code. Okay, great. But, you know, buy it, don't buy it, whatever.
Yes.
But it's a drink. We extended this study another 6 months to see. And so at those 6 months, now I had some things in place to help with, you know, my son, and kind of I was now in a place where I could go to the gym and, kind of put all my practices back in place. And again, all this time I'm listening to all these different people talk about things. And I'd heard Sarah Gottfried talk about like, try to get a pound of vegetables a day. And I was like, okay, I think I can do that. And then I had, another doctor talking about greens and menopause, and that was really important. So I was like, okay, I can do that. It was just like, I can add those things. And so I slowed my pace of aging by another 3%. And the guys one of the people I was interacting with was like, yeah, this is like a really great pace of aging. And I was like, I didn't understand what pace of aging was at that point. I didn't really, all I cared about is that it was changing, that mattered to me. So I knew there was something there. I just didn't understand the science behind it. I've since kind of understand it, but I'm not a scientist. So
yeah. And is there a kind of a simple way of describing what you think happened over that period of time? I mean, obviously the lifestyle changes that you were then able to put back in place, with exercise and so on. We kind of understand the mechanism there a bit more, but what else do you think was going on there?
I just think there's some compounds that really do help people, kind of put their DNA methylation back into order. I really do. And I couldn't tease out any one of the things, but I think of all the supplement companies out there, I feel like Novus has done a really good job studying their product, and trying to create something that's efficacious, and somewhat proven efficacious. I think it's not my world, but
I know what you mean. And you said it was fisetin.
Yeah, I'm going to get it all wrong, so people need to look it up. But it's like rhodiola, fisetin, lithium, magnesium, alpha ketoglutarate, and ginger. I'm probably missing something, but and it's how they all work together. So
okay,
yeah.
We'll look into that. But you think that made a difference to you along with your lifestyle changes?
I do.
And how did you end up in, is it the Rejuvenation Olympics? Have I got that right?
Yeah. So that was newly formed right when I was taking these tests. And so they asked me like, hey, there's this, Rejuvenation. Again, I'm in my little bubble doing my thing. I don't know anything about I don't want to say I don't know anything about biohacking. I mean, I knew Dave Asprey, and I knew, people called it biohacking. I always kind of that terminology just kind of doesn't sit well with me. I'm like, the last thing I want to do is hack my biology, but but I get what they're saying. So, but anyway, so I was just, doing my thing, and they asked if you want to be part of this. And I was, Brian Johnson starting
this was NOVOS, was it? Who asked you if you wanted to be part of it? Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. And when I got on there and looked at it, it was almost like Facebook for people like me. It was like, here's somebody's pace of aging, when they started, here's what it is after, they've employed whatever protocol, and then it would show here's their protocol, or who they were managed by, so you could get a sense of what their protocol might be. And then we also had our own, again, when it first started, everyone had their own individual page. And so I was thinking, oh, this is gonna be great. We're all gonna learn from each other, because I think we hear from kind of researchers in the science world and the medical world, we can't prove X, Y, and Z because there's just too many variables, and they're right. They can't use that. So as a quote unquote biohacker or whatever, somebody like me, the more people we can get and sort of start looking at what's the overlap of what you're doing and I'm doing, and so is there anything we can tease out? And I was just really keen to learn from other people, and try what they're doing and see if that worked for me. So I was like, yeah, I'm all in on this. And again,
and you just provide your data for that, do you? To be put into this Olympics? It's not a big event or anything.
No. Yeah, you just provide your data, and you had to have. So at the first point, I think when I first joined, the rules were just kind of just whatever pace of aging you had, and then at some point they quickly changed it to had to be 3 tests and the average of 3 tests, and then they've recently changed it to you have to have 3 tests within 24 months. And again, I'm a budget biohacker, and these tests are like $500 a piece. And you know, I'm not getting it through NOVOS anymore. I'm doing my own, you know, thing.
Yeah.
So I'm like it's just and it doesn't make sense because I don't vary things up too much, you know. I might go on and try it here and there, but it's not $500 worth testing, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But when you did enter, you came second.
Yeah. So, that was the other thing they changed, because it used to be ranked for chronological age. So like the guy above me was older than me, but his pace of aging was faster than me, but I was second because he was older. And because as you get older, it's harder to slow down your pace of aging, as we witness, you know, in our parents or grandparents. You know, the older they get, the kind of the faster that aging goes. So, but they no longer rank for biological age, and nor do they, or chronological age, and they don't list it anymore. So I kind of, I don't want to say I stopped completely following it, but I just, I wish they would add that back. If nothing, they don't need to rank for it if that's how they, but it's like, I'm not interested in somebody who's 25 years old and slowing down their pace of aging. I'm interested in women, you know, 45 and older, and what are they doing? Because that is more relevant to me. So,
But you were ranked alongside people like Brian Johnson and some of the other well-known biohackers.
Yeah. And again, at the time, I had no idea who he was. I had no idea what he was doing. I could tell it was because he had his, like, I think, I forgot, Oliver Zollman was his doctor at the time.
Okay, yes.
And then, and he kind of had like a web page linked, and you could kind of see like all the stuff he was doing. And I was like, whoa, that is like intense.
Yeah.
Like that would stress me out. You know, I was like, okay, well, I know stress is like important. Like you got to keep that at bay. So I'm like, I'm not doing all that. You know, I'm just not doing all that. So.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it kind of shows you don't have to as well. I mean, we can come on to that in a little bit. I want to talk a bit more about the whole concept of biohacking, but I think people will really want to hear, you know, today what Julie Gibson-Clark's routine looks like from morning, from when you wake up in the morning to when you go to bed at night. And I'd love for you to include skincare, your spiritual practice, exercise, diet, supplements. What are you doing right now?
Yeah. Because it does get tweaked, you know, here and there. Most of this is all on my website, so people can kind of see, which I do need to update just a little. I wake up reasonably early, anywhere between 4:30 and 5. And I just take time to pray every morning. Like, so, you know, and I'm always kind of, I do like a year-on-year project. So like one year it was reading the Bible. And then there was a catechism. I'm Catholic, and I would say I'm like a Catholic Buddhist. I don't know. That's another story.
That's an interesting mix. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And so now in the morning, I'm doing the rosary, you know, every morning, and I just sit and have a cup of tea, although I'm kind of changing that up because of all the microplastics and whatever. Anyway.
Now they've come for our cups of tea.
It's always in flux. So I'm working on some different, but it's always a reminder to me, like, okay, whatever your morning drink is, you do need to switch it up like all the time, because I'm just a big believer in variety, you know, that keeps you healthier mentally as well as just, you know, so, I mean, I'm drinking tea here right now, but anyway, so I have, you know, usually it's a cup of green tea, and I'm saying the rosary, and I just try to, and then I take about a 10-minute, just a traditional TM meditation, which I've recently added. I mean, I've been doing TM meditation, but I was only doing it like once a day, but I've been having some sleep issues, and I thought, let's see what happens if I add, you know, 10 minutes in the morning after my prayers. Do that, and then I usually always pack my bag for the gym the night before, so that's just ready. And so as soon as that's all done, I just grab my bag and head to the gym. I've been experimenting with having a little bit of something in that tea, you know, some like some honey and maybe some coconut milk and some, you say, collagen protein based on, there's a gal, Stacy Sims, that kind of talks about women, and it's important to have a little bit of something. So I've just recently kind of added that and been testing it. I don't feel great when I do that, but again, I'm gonna kind of stick with it.
You're on the try it.
I'm on the try it. Yeah, I'm on the try it. And I think what she has to say is...
Do you go to the gym every day? Can I ask you?
Yeah,
every
yeah.
single
So for sure, Monday through Friday, Saturday and Sunday, like never, but Saturday is kind of optional. We can get into that, but yeah. So that's it. And then I come home from the gym, and I usually make like some kind of greens drink with lemon first thing after that. And then I used to not really eat until, like, I usually have that green drink, and then I wouldn't eat again until like 10 or so. So I'm kind of doing this intermittent fasting. But my son, being 18 and working and, you know, doing all the teenager things, he's not really around for dinner anymore. So I was like, well, you know, it's better for me not to eat dinner, really, you know, to kind of stop earlier, I know, for me. So now I'm kind of like, okay, I'll switch and start having a little bit more at breakfast and basically skip dinner, you know. So like my last meal now is like, I try to finish eating for the day somewhere between like 3 and 4. But I used to like have a dinner, you know, like, and sit down with him, because that was important for my mental health. So, but yeah, as they move on.
Eat earlier now. Yeah. Can I take you back just a step to the gym? What are you focusing on in the gym? I take it you do weight training?
Very much, yeah. That's the savings account for old age, for sure. Yes. Unfortunately, my mom has Parkinson's, and so I'm watching, you know, that. I had seen a scientist somewhere, I think that's like the University of Arizona, they had a lecture, and my dad was invited to go to it, and I went with him. It just happened to be, this was years and years ago, somebody talking about, they were like kind of the main researcher in gerontology there, and they were talking about Parkinson's. And I mean, I'll never forget, this is before my mom even developed Parkinson's, and the difference in Parkinson's and Alzheimer's was like, you know, Alzheimer's was like maybe not supplying the brain with enough fat throughout your life, and Parkinson's was maybe had something to do with your muscle mass. And it just made again, I don't know, you know, I didn't research, and I didn't, you know, fact check or any of that stuff, but it just made an impression on me, like, oh, okay, maybe I need to really kind of up my game when it comes to weightlifting. So I've just, you know, recently in this year started lifting heavier. And so I do need to update my website, but I, you know, just have different days. I'm 4 days a week lifting weights. 1 day is upper body, 1 day is lower body. 3 days a week is my midsection, you know, just try to make sure, like the abs and my lower back. And then interspersed in there is like a VO2 max and a HIIT, high intensity workout. And then the rest of the days I'm doing at least 10 minutes on the step mill, which is a little bit high. I mean, it's probably some zone 2. And then I try to walk every night. So that's kind of my workouts in the big picture.
I hear it so often now, commonly, VO2 max. Is that more kind of aerobic, where you're really trying to...
Yeah. So I do what's called a Norwegian 4x4. People can look that up again.
I've heard of this. I've heard Stacey Sims talking about this, actually. Yes. Yeah. And Rhonda Patrick on Found My Fitness did a great, like, she has a whole episode on it. And I was like, again, I'm going to try it. You know, it seems like it should be good for me. I'm going to try that. Because I had been doing what I call they're called Super 8s in my high intensity, where you go, not low, but kind of zone 2 for a minute and a half, and then up it for 30 seconds. And you do that 8 times. And so those are called Super 8s. And so that's my high intensity workout. And it was great and it was fun. But I was like, ooh, could I go for, 4 minutes? Like hard? That seems like that's going to be a challenge. And sure enough, it's very much a challenge, which is why I do it on Monday, because I need to get it over with. Because if I don't, I hear you. Yeah.
It's done. And I can check it off for the week. And it's the only thing I usually do on Monday. Like maybe some app work too, but I just try to be like, oh, that's all you have to do. You just have to get on there, turn on the music, make it fun. And yeah.
So that's your gym, and you come back.
At this gym too, I'm also doing the sauna. So after the workout, there's a sauna. And on the days that I'm not lifting weights, on the days that I'm not lifting weights, I'm doing cold showers. I used to do cold showers every day, but I since learned, like many people, like, oh, it might impact hypertrophy. And I can definitely see a difference since I've stopped the cold showers on the weightlifting days. And I've started lifting heavy. It's like, oh, I'm definitely developing some more muscle. So it's really nice.
Yeah, no, that is good. And I mean, sauna used to be the only thing that got me to the gym. I now have a
It
little
is
setup in our house where we do barbell training.
nice.
And I don't have access to the sauna now. And I say to my husband, at least once a week, please, can we get a sauna for our house? So I'm still working on him for that because I really miss it. It had so many benefits for me.
Hmm.
And, I talked about it a lot on the channel, the benefits of heat therapy and sauna. And now I don't really have a little red light, an infrared blanket,
Hmm.
which is good, but it's not the same thing as being encased,
Yeah.
engulfed in heat. I love that. I should
Oh, I
move to
bet.
Arizona.
I was gonna say I bet in Arizona. Yeah, I mean, like here, I'm gonna get a temperature gauge for my garage because I was thinking I could probably actually just take a sauna in my garage. I do hot yoga in
You
my
probably
garage in the
could.
summer because I was like, well, win-win. You might as well make the most of it, But
That's a really good point. You probably could. It would be hot enough.
I think it would be because the sun kind of shines on my garage all afternoon. So like even that next
Yeah.
morning, it's quite hot. But
Never going
yeah,
to
so
happen in Scotland. No.
oh, I
I
know.
could do
I
the
wanted
cold
to,
therapy. I can do
yeah.
cold therapy here. That's
Yeah,
no
right.
problem.
Which is fun in its own right, but oh my God, it's not as attractive. Like that's the thing, when I wake up in the morning and it does get cold here in the winter. So, I'm usually like, oh, I don't want to get out of this bed just to go to the gym and do these horrible things to myself. But I think, oh no, you're going to have a sauna. Just go for the
I know.
sauna. You don't have to do anything. Just go for the sauna. That's a cardiovascular workout. And I just, people don't ever talk about this enough, but like I use aromatherapy too. So like when I first started going to the gym and I didn't want to go, I went to the Body Shop. You guys, I know you have that there, and she had all these beautiful smelling shampoos and conditioners and body soap, and I got that, and I would only let myself use it at the gym. So if I went to the gym, and now I just have this like, in fact, I can even just like remember the smell of her banana conditioner. Like that just makes me feel this like that feeling you feel after you've worked out. And so I think it's a really easy thing to get people motivated to the gym. Like just come up with some kind of like, create it like a mini spa. I mean, it may only be, half hour in the sauna and, your 15-minute shower, but like whatever,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. If
something.
that
It's like
gets you in the door, do
and it
it.
does. It for sure.
Yeah.
Like it's the thing that's like, oh, but that's going to be so nice, So,
I hear
and then
you.
it's like
Yeah.
you walk in the door and you're like, I should probably lift some weights. I'll do
Yeah.
like, this is my thing on the VO2 max day too. It's like, I'll just do like the one round. I'm not going to do all four. I'll just do one round. And then then I'm having fun and I do it. So,
You get into it. So what happens for the rest of the day? Where do you go from there?
yeah. So, the only obviously I have to work like everybody else. I'm a recruiter, and so I work from home. So I know that allows me a lot of freedom, as far as like being able to kind of just jump downstairs and grab my vegetables. So like the rest of my day is, a big part of my day is like greens. I try to put some greens in a smoothie. And one of the things I've been learning actually from my audience on YouTube, like a lot of comments, like there's a lot of oxalates in those. And so I've been playing around with like a more low oxalate diet. I'm still doing the veggies and I'm still doing the greens, but I'm just trying to switch it up so that I'm not having oxalates so much every day. But it's still, like basically some lettuces and some berries and, protein powder. So that's kind of my breakfast. And then sometimes there's a little piece of, I make this bird bread, I call it. It's like this seed bread, and it's on my YouTube channel. And I have some of that. So that's kind of my, quote unquote breakfast after that greens. And then I go up and work for a little bit. And at some point I go down and I grab a bowl of vegetables. So I try to make sure I get, 8 ounces of greens a day in 2 4-ounce servings. So 4 ounces in my smoothie, and then I'll do like a salad at night with another 4 ounces, or cook greens in the winter. And then there's a bowl of vegetables, and that has to be like 8 ounces. And so again, just trying to experiment with kind of the lower oxalate veggies and, some peppers and anyway, whatever. And that just sits on my desk with some protein as well. So either it's hard-boiled eggs or it's some chicken, or something we've had, some leftovers or something like that. And that just kind of sits on my desk, and I just kind of nosh on that the rest of the day. And then I finish work somewhere between 4 and 5. And that's, I try to make sure like if I can sneak down there and grab like dinner, I will, which is these days are just like these quick meals. Trying to think what I even had last night. Sometimes, a lot of times, it's been another whey protein smoothie. You know,
Okay.
It's been kind of sad in my house. I'm grieving my son, like moving out. You know, so yeah. Yeah.
So is that just something like a kind of healthier snack to tide you over at that time, rather than your kind of big nutritious meal? You try and get that over the course of the day with what you've put on your desk. Is that basically how you operate?
Yeah, exactly. So, or like, I mean, the big thing I try to kind of mostly live off of is a salad. It's usually like at night, my dinners are usually a salad, some dressing I've made, and some, usually like these days it's been chicken, but like today I'm going to make a tuna and sardine salad. So, you know, it's because it's hot here, and so you definitely need like cool foods. It's just, yeah.
And supplements wise, are you just still sticking with the NOVOS drink and
a
nothing
few
else,
other
or do you add
supplements
on top of that? Okay.
So I mean, obviously I've had tons of companies reach out to me like, oh, try this, try that. So, and I will like, if it looks like it's a good company. So I've just been, Symbiotica is recently, you know, they're a good product, and I've been testing, I'm going on a triet of upping my glutathione. So like we were talking about chelators, kind of back. Glutathione is your master antioxidant, and it actually is like a gentle chelator. It's really helpful in just kind of detoxing your body. And as we get older, our glutathione levels can decrease. And you can take some things like N-acetylcysteine that help your body recycle that glutathione. But I'm trying exogenous, liposomal glutathione. I'm trying a few other things, but for them, I don't want to put anything like official until I know like, hey, I really, really like this. So I've only recently added that and some vitamin C, but everything else is on my website. But I take, a B complex. I take the omega-3 fatty acids. I take magnesium. I'm chronically deficient in magnesium.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people
It's good to know that. It's good that you do the testing. And vitamin D and K.
D3, K2 every morning. It's all on my website, like what I take on a daily basis. I haven't added the glutathione, but I will. And then, I'm experimenting with spermidine right now. Like Angela Foster, I think she's in the UK. She just swears by it for her hair, and I'm always worried about my hair. So, it's like there's my ego thing right there.
You interviewed another lady a while back who also swears by spermidine and was able to reduce her biological age by some way as well. So it is an interesting one. I'm one of these people that things can easily upset my stomach. I've got quite a sensitive stomach. So if I'm taking a lot of supplements, and then I never know which one is it that's kind of setting me off. So that's a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
And that is a thing, isn't it? With all these different supplements now, if we're going back to sort of the idea of biohacking for longevity, I mean, some of the biohackers are taking extraordinary numbers of supplements, and it always strikes me, I think that's a risk. I think that's a risk.
I do too. I think there's polypharmacy, as we call it, like what happens when you start mixing all these, and, does it make some more effective and some less effective? I don't know. I mean, so I always just try to keep it as close to nature as possible. So, can I, like if I can get a certain compound, like for instance, here's an example, like fisetin. Well, that's naturally occurring in strawberries. And I do eat a lot of strawberries, but you'd have to eat like pounds of strawberries to get so, but I still figure there's something working synergistically in these vegetable, when we eat it in nature, that might help me absorb it better as well. And there's probably all kinds of stuff. I mean, I know there's stuff we don't know about, nutrition and feeding ourselves. So I think it's really important to get as much as you can from food. But the reality is like I'm never going to get enough magnesium from food. There's certain things that we just have to contend with. But I try to keep it really minimal like you. I don't know if they upset my stomach. Like I know when I take things like liposomally, I don't, typically get the upset stomach, but
Okay. That's something I should look into then to make these things easier to sort of digest. Yeah. And I mean, hormones, are you a user of HRT?
Yes, bioidentical hormones, and I've been doing that. I mean, I was living in Dubai when I was having perimenopause symptoms, but my doctors here were just like, "Oh no, you're not in menopause," and I'm like, "Okay, but I feel like crap," And I didn't know about like bioidentical hormones or anything like that. And then I moved to Dubai and just changed, the doctor, and kind of said, "Yeah, I'm having all these symptoms." Like, "Oh, you don't." You probably are like ready for hormones. And I was like, well, I still have my period. I'm still, and he's like, oh, no, 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 no. Like he was way ahead of the game on all this. And it was like, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful because I started them early on, which I think is somewhat important, what I'm reading. So I'm grateful that I was able to start those early.
It's an interesting one because I've heard a lot in recent conversations that I've had. And in fact, I spoke this morning with Alice Hart Davis, she's another journalist based in the UK. She's tried every aesthetic treatment known to man. So she does this thing called the Treatments Guide, but she's very interested in healthy aging as well, 62, looking great. And she was saying that she takes bioidentical hormones as well, absolutely swears by it. I interviewed a fabulous lady of 75 not so long ago. She swears by bioidentical hormones. I'm thinking, again, because it's less studied, I'm sort of trying to weigh that up.
I think we need to be looking, or I don't necessarily you need that, but like I think we need to be looking at, because I take, I'm on testosterone, very low dose, not tons, and then and progesterone at night, and the estrogen all together.
Yes. I have the progesterone covered, not the testosterone. So that's a whole different.
And not everybody needs that, it's everybody's individual biology for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just getting access to testing and, finding the right doctors. And these things are mindful fields for the average person, as you'll be aware, great if you have an absolute stack of money.
So like testing, for instance, there is, you can test what's going on in your blood, and that's like what's circulating, but you do have to look at how you metabolize them. And that's that Dutch test, the dried urine test. And that I was having a lot of hormone issues where I became estrogen dominant. And it was really like a puzzle because my Dutch test was showing that I, did very well at metabolizing the estrogen. But in fact, I was like running through it, but we had to reduce my estrogen by half for almost like 6 months. And it was horrible. It was hassle. I was like, I will never give up my hormones ever. I don't care. Like you will have to come for me guns a-blazing because I am not giving this stuff up. We were able to just recently double it. But again, I'm just concerned I'll become estrogen dominant again. So it's still a bit of a puzzle, but we're working it out. Again, I have a smart doctor that helps me work through these things. It's way above my pay grade, but I do understand that there's these different ways of testing, through saliva, you can get different information through saliva, different information through blood, information through the dried urine. And so again, some of those things I'm paying for out of pocket, but it's worth it to me.
Yeah, absolutely. We haven't talked about skincare really. I am wondering, because you really rose to prominence with the Rejuvenation Olympics, I think it was. That kind of put you in the spotlight a bit more. Yeah. And now people are looking to you as this kind of beacon of, as I said, what was icon you are now of healthy aging. I mean, does that cross your mind? Are you kind of thinking, gosh, I better make sure that I've got no grays pulling through and not too many wrinkles showing? I mean, do you think like that, or are you just pure physical?
I wouldn't say that I don't think like that. Only recently, one of my just closest friends here, she's a board certified dermatologist, so she's been helping me with my skin, because my skincare has just been kind of like, I just had this firm belief, like if you eat really well, it shows through your skin, you know, so I really,
Yes.
I mean, and I don't use sunscreen, like I, you know, like, sorry.
Wow.
I do now. I mean, she's really, you know,
Good.
helped me figure this out. Like, you need to use that, and you need to use it every day, even when you're sitting by your window, you know, it's like, okay.
Yes. Yes.
So I do. And I'm testing a product that she actually formulated. So I did a skin age test, which came back at 54. So like a lot of people, I get a lot of criticism on the internet, like you know, because my bio age is apparently 36. Again, I don't pay too much attention to that bio age. I'm sorry, I just don't.
And let me guess, they go, you don't look 36.
I do not. And you're right. I got some jowls. I got a turkey neck.
No, you
got,
do.
know.
I was not saying that. I was just guessing the because because I talk about aging, I know what's coming next.
Yeah, no, this is what people have said. And I don't like, you know, that quote by Anaïs Nin, we don't, what is it? Like, we don't see the world as they are, or we see it as we are, or something like that. So I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
it's about them, like, in their fear of aging and all
Actually,
that. Like, it's not about me.
You look absolutely glowing, and I would put you easily 10 years younger. So, but the other side of that, I think, is, does it matter? We're always trying to pin an age on someone. Oh, I think they look, and that becomes like the center of conversation. And that happens a lot when I'm talking to people about healthy aging and people who've been able to turn their health around, and they've got biological age tests that are way younger than their chronological age, and people will come in and go, but look at the wrinkles. And you think, well, these are two separate things. It's like I looked at celebrities who I thought were aging particularly well. Now, top of that list, to me, is Mick Jagger.
Yeah.
The man is in his 80s. He goes on
He's
world
going
tours,
strong. Yeah.
and he dances like a 22-year-old for hours.
Yeah.
There's no debate. There's no argument. He's so lean. He's strong. He to me is just an excellent example of somebody who's aging well. And people could not get past. They were like, "Are you kidding me? Look at his face." Like, that has got nothing to do with what's going on physically.
Yeah. And I think, you know, like, for instance, like True Age now has this symphony age, you know, like something where they're looking at all the different organ systems. And so your skin is an organ just like anything else. And so when I factor in, like, I was a swimmer, I mean, I was in the pool anywhere between 3 to 5 hours a day with no sunscreen for years. I mean, for a decade. And then even, I mean, I'm a beach bunny. I love going to the beach. And when I do go to the beach, I will put on like sunscreen on my face, but that's it. And so when my age came back at like through this testing through, you know, at 54, I was like, yeah, that seems about right to me.
You've got away with it.
We're going to test this product for, I can't remember how many months I'm supposed to test it, and then do it again and see if it makes any difference.
So what's the product?
Fun.
What's in
I know,
it?
it's called Moon and Skin. I don't know if I have it on my website yet. It's on, I think I link it on my Instagram, but it's called
Has it
Moon
got
and
like
Skin.
retinoid, some kind of retinoid in it?
It's a retinol. If there's a retinol for night, and my friend just explained like how it all works together. You know, like there's a vitamin C in the morning, and then, but it's simple. It's not like there's no extra eye cream, no extra neck cream. It's just there's a cleanser, there's a vitamin C, there's a moisturizer, and then at night there's a retinol plus that same moisturizer, just a little extra.
Yeah,
and
it sounds like the classic good skincare routine. Yeah,
really simple and just very well formulated. So I'm excited about that, and I'm excited. I am noticing a little bit of a difference. So I was like, okay, this is working. And so I don't know, she said, I can't remember, she told me how many months it takes or how many weeks it takes for the skin to completely turn over. And so at that point, I'll retest my skin age and see how it's doing. Anyway, but do I feel pressure, I think, is kind of what you're asking. And I think a little bit, you know, there's a little bit of like there was somebody on X recently that just kind of like, I mean, like a vicious dog, you know? And again, I just had to kind of go back to like, thank God I've had a lot of like mental health support and a lot of like, I don't get too, you know, I don't get too flustered. That might like ruffle my feathers for a little bit. And then I was like, you know, maybe an hour later, like, okay, wait a minute, like that's about them. And they're like, that's not, you know, it's like, all their points may be true, but the reality is like our organs age at different rates, and my skin is an organ just like anything else. And, you know, and I can do a lot of things, and I do Botox here to take care of the 11s, as they talk about it. Because I remember my son, when I was young, he said something about like, oh, I did it just for fun, because my sister was telling me about it. And he's like, you look so happy today, mommy.
Like, I am happy today.
But it was like what he was reacting to was I didn't look angry all the time. So I was like, yeah, okay, I can do that, and I've dabbled with some lasers. Like when I turned 50, I was like, oh, I'll try some lasers. But other than that, I really haven't done too much. But I think everyone has to decide what's right for them. And for me, I try to keep things as natural as possible. A lot because I just don't have the income. I mean, these things are expensive.
This is it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not cheap. And so it's a lot cheaper to sort of accept our humanity. And I don't know, I just think, like, I'm always, like, nowadays there's this debate that I'm trying to live in balance between, like, okay, yeah, I understand, like, I do represent, because I know people in my industry who have done nothing, and you do kind of look at them and go, should I trust what they have to say? I don't know, and that's horrible, but it's true. We as humans judge, and that's like why, like, people can tear me apart. It's like, okay, well, that's their judgment, and like that's what we do as people. It's our human, I don't know, it's just something that helped us survive, right? So I'm going to accept things the way they are. But I want to live somewhere in balance between like looking my best and also being like aging in a very humane way, and like not promoting ageism by, doing too much. It kind of promotes the use of ageism.
Yes.
But I think it just like displays, like, I think, inner wisdom. I mean, I could be wrong, and that's just my take on it. For somebody else, they might see like, no, I can just be just as wise with a perfectly young looking face. And maybe they're right, but I don't know. I just want to live in that balance between the two.
Yeah, I definitely wrestle with the same thing. And I think I've arrived round about where you are. And I'm somebody who, now has a career talking about healthy aging. And the first thing people comment on is how you look. And there are well-known biohackers now that are having cosmetic surgery, not just procedures, but cosmetic surgery, because they will have listened to those comments and felt that, this is affecting my brand. But I also think that there is, like, coming back to, I don't know, even just spirituality, just like your whole being. What do you want from life? And I feel, for me, like some of these more invasive treatments, cosmetic surgery, things like that, I think
That's where I draw the line.
takes it far. You have to draw a line somewhere, and you have to accept the aging as part of this and what aging well looks like to you. But I also think, saying that, I sometimes see some of the before and afters from cosmetic surgeons who do amazing work. And if I was somebody who had very advanced aging on my skin at an early age, and that was, how upsetting that can be for people. I mean, some people just genetically, their skin has aged very, very fast. And they've got, their early 50s and they've got skin hanging down here. If you have the money, I would not bat an eyelid at somebody doing that and, helping themselves to look as they feel. But it's a delicate balance. And I think for men and women now, not just, it's a big thing for women, always has been, but to try to get that messaging right as well. So we're not adding to the toxicity of, oh my God, this person's got wrinkles and signs of aging on their skin. We can't listen to them. It's like, no, there's some wisdom built in there. And I think you can tell, does a person look healthy and energized?
From the inside, it's in the eyes. Like,
in the
are they
eyes.
connected to that? There's just this connection to, I don't know, something bigger than ourselves, and the people that are kind of tapped into that, you can see it whether you're 80, 90, or 20. There's something there. We're going to age. I'm just going to age a little slower than has previously been out there. And so, I don't have anything against like doing, some dabbling with some fillers and dabbling with some, like, there's so much they're doing in lasers, and I'm paying,
or
kind
draw
of
your
doing
lips on big like me.
Yeah,
Just draw them in.
Yeah. All of those fun things. I mean, there's some things I can do for my neck and, but like I get keloids, so I can't do the surgery because I will have like actual, big scars. So I can't, like, it's not an option for me, but also it's just not an option for me, probably from a spiritual perspective, but also from if I do you consider myself a brand, I just want to be the stand for like, we can age gracefully and just, but that can be slow. That doesn't have to be like, I know Justine Bateman wrote a book called Face, which I haven't read yet, but I've heard her talk about it. And just this idea of like, I'm not going to do anything to my face. I think, that having those wrinkles was something very important to her. And so I just think everybody has to decide. It's weird. You're kind of damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Yes. It's like, oh, well, they use, but that same person that was criticizing me for my neck was going on and on about the Botox. And I was just like, first of all, I'm like, hey guys, my eyelids move, there's, you can't see it because of the light, but there's like wrinkles up here, So I was like, it was just really funny. I was like, oh, like if you use it, you're wrong. And if you don't use it, you're wrong. Like, I just was like, I don't know. Yeah. Good luck.
I think the only way through is to know what's right for you and to sort of feel what's right for you. And then that kind of noise doesn't, it becomes kind of meaningless, really.
Yeah. And it's a lot of mental health support and a lot of spiritual support and a lot of, just a lot of inner gazing. You really got to figure that out. Yeah.
Well, nice spot to finish on. Thank you so much, Julie. I hope we can talk again.
Yeah, for sure.
Really enjoyed our time. Loved meeting you. So what we heard there is that Julie's longevity formula focuses around sleep, typically going to bed at 9 p.m. and rising at 5 a.m, regular exercise, sauna sessions, a vegetable-rich diet with plenty of protein, and some nutritional supplements too. And her results only go to show that it is possible to slow our rate of aging and significantly improve our health through lifestyle and without spending a lot of money. I'll link in the description to the page on her website where she details her daily regimen and to her YouTube channel as well, so you can continue to follow her journey. You'll also find a link pinned in the comments to sign up for my free monthly newsletter where I round up all my latest articles and episodes so you don't miss a thing. And to find my content more easily, then hit subscribe or follow if you're listening to the podcast. And do let me know what you took from today's episode in the comments below. But for now, thank you so much for being here today.